Alright guys, what's up Gaming Compute? Um so I'm in the middle of an application process. Um so I mentioned before I'm not really interested in mental health per se, at least not exactly how I was working in the field, but this site is more like housing navigation related with case management. It's not providing direct therapy services, it's more so providing um, um, housing support services, housing financial support and resources. Um, but it's not a therapy caseload. It's not a caseload where we're checking in necessarily on appointments or assigning people to doctors or registering them in different physical or mental health programs. I mean, that kind of stuff comes up as resources. There's probably a process of helping people schedule things, but it's not directly talking to like insurance and like the what is that system called? Like member services through insurance and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I think it might be a better fit than the previous sites. I'm interviewing there tomorrow. It would be like a few interviews. I've got another sales related interview coming up too. So a lot going on before this coming weekend, and I still need to, at this point, I still need to post my tips and tricks for Uber Eats delivering gigs. And I've got some gigs I need to follow up about for apartment shops, or whatever you want to call them. I'm uh I'm tired. um I'm on my way home, and then I'm gonna have a late lunch. I got in a good 45-minute workout before. I always skipped breakfast and just went straight for brunch around like a little bit after 11 a.m. Got to the library, stayed there till about 2. At this rate, I'll probably be home around 3. Regarding errands and such. But yeah, so I guess the thing I'm looking forward to, I like interviews where I feel like I pretty much know the tasks and know how to easily talk about them. So I'm basically just reviewing. I have plenty of notes on, what I've done, excuse me, in the past, just broken down like per piece of paperwork, kind of in order start to finish, of how I've usually gone through those types of jobs, what I've done at those jobs. Just like start to finish, from a time a client or patient walks in the door or makes their first contact, calling or whatever it may be, to how they end up on my desk in my caseload, and what my job roles are, start to finish with each client. And so I am in the process of working on that. Basically what I do is I break down the task requirements where they say like qualifications and then like job requirements. I break it down, like if it says something, for example, must have experience with Section 8 applications, IHSS, HUD, CalFresh, like SSI disability applications, and I basically just press enter after each of those, and I write in my own notes. These are my interview notes. I write in my own notes what I've done within those areas that they've mentioned. And so, excuse me, that's pretty much how I go about doing these types of jobs, the interviews for these jobs. This is my first one since no longer being at that past job from August of 2024. This is my first interview that I sought out. So I basically put in the application yesterday, and it was through LinkedIn, and I basically went back after I applied and made sure that it was a good fit. You know how it has all those boxes where it says, you know, are you, you know, like how many, like say if it's like you have 3 of the 10 qualifications that they're looking for or whatever, and I'm like, no, I know that I have all the qualifications. And so I just basically went back in, clicked all of them to make sure that it shows that I have all the qualifications. They got back to me within a couple hours of submitting that application, and I've already got an interview tomorrow. So I already did like an initial phone contact with one of the recruiters. And by the way, this is based on a conversation with the recruiter. The site I'm applying through is through a recruitment site. I almost never these days apply individually to sites. I almost always go through recruiters. In my opinion, I mean, if you can, it's helpful to be connected with the recruiter or recruitment site. They can keep your name on file. If you don't qualify for the specific job, after they've talked to you, they might know more about what kind of a fit you're looking for. I need a second. Gosh. So yeah, about recruitment sites. That's, to me, that seems it seems like it's been the easiest method to hear back from someone fast, because the difference between recruiting sites or recruitment services and applying to a job site, and I'm not saying don't apply to job sites, and this is not like specific advice of like what to do, but I'm just telling you what's gotten me in the door faster, or more, at least more interviews, is finding recruiting sites. Some fields maybe have more of them. I've noticed with enhanced case management, psychology, stuff like that, there are a lot of sites, probably with nursing and stuff too, where you can get a recruiter involved, and they tend to be, I guess, you know, they review your applications, I feel like, more often, and especially if you seem very, very qualified, they're going to review your application. They're going to talk to you, screen you. So you're usually going to be talking to someone who knows a lot of sites that need employees. So especially if you're highly qualified. Now, if you're not qualified, I don't really know what method works. I'm only talking about my experience with sites where I'm qualified, overqualified, have like 7 to 10 years of experience in the field, maybe like 7 years paid experience, 2 to 3 years unpaid work experience. So it's like over 10 years or so in the field. So I've noticed if I apply to sites, it's kind of hard. Like, I do hear back from a lot of the sites when I do apply, to be honest. And I'm not accurate when I say this is the first time I've applied. I applied to a job similar, almost similar, in January of 2025. And they took multiple weeks to get back to me. They took until February to get back to me. But yeah, this is the first time I found one that was seriously interesting. Talking to recruiters, I feel like they have more motivation to talk to you because they get paid based on getting people placed. They get paid based on a good fit environment for you, their client. They get commissions based off you getting placed and how long you stayed. So if you stayed like 6 months or a year or so, it looks good on them. It looks good on you. The company's happy because they've hired out this recruitment site to staff, to help them get staffed. And it's more streamlined for the company because they're only really getting interviews with people who are very, very qualified, because someone else has already spoken to you. And so you're usually going to be okay with how things are going. You're usually not going to be like too insanely, I don't know how to explain it. Like you're usually, it's just a good fit all around. So if you can find a recruiting service, or a firm or a headhunter site, I would recommend that. Job Leads, unfortunately, that Job Leads website, I've never paid them, but I've seen terrible reviews with them. I was maybe trying to use them initially, and I was like, this is a terrible site. And then there's another site. If you live in LA County, there's WorkSource. They can connect you with job fairs. They have, a caseworker that will work with your case to help you get connected. If you've got qualifying diagnoses, you can work with the Department of Rehabilitation, or the DOR. And they can usually get you placed. I'm only talking about sites. I'm not saying that they're going to place you somewhere where you're going to be like 110% happy. I'm just saying, like, how do you get a foot in the door in this kind of job market where people don't even respond to your applications? To me, this has been what's worked, is going through recruiters or going through a caseworker. It might take some weeks to get your appointment with your caseworker and all that, but it's like once you're kind of on their caseload, they will follow up with you. Some of these sites, it happened to me before, one of the sites closed down and now it's in another city, and I didn't even know that, so I had to, reapply and all this kind of stuff. But it's like, you will my experience with recruiting sites has been very good. They look out for like, say this job tomorrow, if they get me past the few interview phases, right? And I get hired on, this recruiter is still going to follow up with me to make sure I'm like happy there. They're going to help me with the onboarding. All the paperwork usually goes through these recruitment sites. Now, if you go through these recruitment sites, you might not be the same type of staff that the other staff is. Your pay rate might be different. Your benefits might be different. You might be considered freelance or contract. And that might change after the 90-day probationary period or not. So depending, you might not, like the listing on the job site, they might know of certain sites that want like, maybe they want 40 staff. So they've got 2 recruiters trying to each find 20 people so that they can staff 40 people on this brand new clinic. They only want therapists or something. Let's say this is the example, and you're one of the therapists that they call. Insert your job role here. Like, I'm just using that as an example, therapy as an example. But you have access to So you have access to someone who needs you to be one of the 20 people. And so they're going to make sure that you're a good enough fit that you could probably pass the interview, pass the pass the interview, pass the part where you're maybe no longer wasting the time of the people trying to interview you. So say if it works, they're going to keep following up. Eventually you get through the onboarding process and then you're hired on, and then you still kind of have somebody in your corner who wants you to stay there. So if there's any complaints that they have the authority to kind of do anything about, they're probably going to try to help you out with that. Say if you're not getting paid on time, your first paycheck on the second week or first of the month after working there, or say if there's stuff that they're slacking on to where you're just not happy, you're going to be able to have someone to talk to that's not even part of the site. You're not going through HR, you're not going through, I mean, you can go through those other avenues, but I'm just saying, like, when you're a brand new employee, sometimes these sites take advantage. They want to flip the script. They want to have a different contract. They want to not pay you on time. They want to give you unpaid trainings. They want to say, oh, it was supposed to be remote, but now it's not remote. It's hybrid, and now you got to be working over here. Like, a recruiter might not be able to do anything about that, but, at least you can talk to them. But like I said, your pay structure, if you're going through a recruiter, you might not be considered part-time or full-time. I've had that experience before where, I had to pay for my own health insurance. I wasn't getting retirement benefits. I didn't have paid holidays or PTO. So if I got sick and took a day off, it came out of I didn't have to pay them for it, but I didn't get paid that day. If it was a holiday, like a Monday holiday, like I don't know what ones there were, but I might not have that holiday off. Or no, I would be off, but I wouldn't get like paid holiday, because I'm a contract worker. So these are the things they might not really tell you if you're going through a recruiting site. There might be more, but I just don't know because I haven't used them so much. I'm like most people who basically just apply. But look out for recruiting sites. If you can join any type of Discord groups where you can ask questions about, like, hey, do you know good recruiters? Or even if you hire like a headhunter, someone who just searches for you, you might have to pay them out of pocket, or they might get a portion of your first paycheck, or whatever that looks like. But there definitely are ways in which you kind of might be better off using a recruiter, or in addition to applying to individual jobs. But that's been kind of my hack. Say if I'm not a good match for this site and I don't get the job, right? If this recruiter, if I'm not one of the 40 people hired, for example, if they need 40 people, this recruiter might be working for like 3 other sites that all need, like, maybe one site needs 30 people, one site needs 20 people. So they'll be like, hey, like, well, maybe is this job a good fit? Maybe it pays a little less, or maybe it's not remote, or maybe it's hybrid, or maybe it's in a different city. But they know where you live, they know what you want. They're trying to give you what you want so that they can get what they need, which is their money. The better they do in placing people, the better it goes for them, and if you are qualified, they're gonna want to talk to you, quickly. So try to talk to them as soon as possible. The next day, usually it's going to be like 15 minutes, and then they'll schedule you for an interview. I've had these people prep me for interviews, and then they call back after the interview. I've had these people be in the interview at the start of the interview, and then they kind of introduce you and everything, and then they call you back after the interview, or you like, coordinate after the interview to talk again, and they ask you what kind of questions did you speak about and what did they ask you, so that they're talking to the people that are interviewing, so they know what kind of questions that you're going to get asked. They can kind of prep you for it if that's possible. They kind of know, some of the hiring staff. They've probably spoken to these people multiple times, and if they have a good relationship with them, between you and them, it might just be a good fit. So I would recommend it, especially if it's not costing money out of your pocket to use those types of services. If it's free to you, might as well. But that's kind of my 2 cents on job hunting. Based on my own personal experience, that's been the best way to do it, because you will get calls back, and especially, I don't know what it looks like if you're not qualified for a job, but if you are qualified, that's one way to get a foot in the door, because people will look at your applications faster. I mean, I applied for this job on Thursday. I could have an interview set up by Monday or Tuesday, a second interview set up by Monday or Tuesday already. It's like, versus most jobs, if you just send the application without going through a recruiter, who knows if they're even going to get to your application, and if they do, it's probably not even going to be by Monday or Tuesday of next week. I can guarantee you, they wouldn't have texted me. They applied to me via text and sent me a link, and everything. So, it's, then you can go on Glassdoor and see how the recruitment services are rated and everything. I would recommend it. But that's it for now. Thanks for listening.